So, it's the day after Thanksgiving, and I'm having a rough day. Uh, I've been trying to do exercises and stuff, and then my neck has gotten so sore that my eyes were like hurting, and my head's been hurting for like the last couple of days. And I've been trying to relax, and then my neck's just very sore. And I'm not sure. It kind of goes through these phases, and that's why I think I'm still healing. And there might be more healing possible, and my neck might heal a little more. And then I don't know. It kind of goes through these phases, and then I get really sore to where my head just feels kind of like achy, and I just feel tired. And my lower backs goes in and out of, gets tight or sore, and I'm just trying to not get too frustrated about it. Get like a nausea a little bit, and then I gotta work on this car with the stupid PO420 exhaust problems that I had talking about in the last video. And then yeah, like wrenching around on stuff is hard on me, and I don't have a lot of extra money to just take it somewhere. And so it's frustrating. I know how to fix stuff, and then nobody wants to help a guy who's got some stupid story. My story sounds like stupid or fake, or I don't know if people would even believe me. So that seems to be the extra downfall of my situation, is people are especially not believing guys like me with stories about things that happened to them and stuff, especially. And but yeah, so the P420 thing for me has been kind of weird, because seeing as the first mechanic I called, I had already known it's a $150 assessment for a vehicle at Chevy dealerships. And then I called a place nearby in a neighborhood around Seattle, and it was a $150 assessment again. I thought, wow, just to find out what happens, but and then you're not sure if you can tell me for sure what the problem is, but it should be able to tell me. And then I thought it was really strange, mechanically speaking, as a mechanic, as a guy who's fixed other people's cars before and stuff. I would never expect people to pay if I can't even tell them what the problem with the vehicle is, right? So what the deal is here is they're saying, bring your car in, it's a $150 assessment. We're going to give you some readout or something and not talk to it with you about it. And I can't promise you what the readout's going to say, or if it's going to help you or not. Right? For $150, a mechanic is going to draw you in and say, I'll do an assessment and I'll give you this paperwork, and they'll say the assessment of the vehicle on it or something. Right? And we're not going to talk. And I can't guarantee you that you'll be able to understand the assessment, or if it'll even help you with whatever the problem is. So to me, that's super, super, super crazy hustling. Like, nobody that I ever met who helped someone with their car ever said, give me $150 and then I'm not sure if I'll be able to tell you what's wrong with it, but you're definitely going to pay $150. Right? And so, that's something that obviously with this O2 sensors and the OBD2 system, it's been an ongoing missing link in a system of the market of mechanical engineering and mechanical workings in the market. Basically, in the Army world, that is the perfect example of dumb fuck society, and that's what the Army calls clusterfuck society. That's a perfect example of clusterfuck society. Clusterfuck, right? Where if you're kind of person who can't just bring a car into a place, right? And you're not even cringing at whatever it costs, even if you get ripped off, you're going to be laughing about it, right? Or something. If you're that kind of person, you're above in the higher class of society, right? If you take your car to a place and you're definitely not the type of person who's not going to flinch, and you're fucking saying, I don't like the way they're doing business with me, and I could figure it myself, right? You're below. You're below. You're in the below part of society. I don't know if it's half or whatever, but if you take your place to a car place and you don't give a fuck about shit, and you look over the paperwork, just glance at it, and you're just like, is my car running right? That kind of guy, and it doesn't matter the price that much. If you're that kind of guy, you're above. You're in the above part of society, right? He doesn't have to care. He can afford to throw the car in the gutter and get another car tomorrow if they're gonna not understand how to fix it, right? He doesn't care. So, most of us, people that I meet, we're in the below part of society, where if you pay that shit, you felt like, man, that wasn't fair. And then you always mostly try a way to fix it yourself or something, right? So, and then that's a thing that I think is really odd, that clusterfuck society says, don't get your car fixed right the first time. Play a guessing game. And it's not just, what do you think about the guessing game? It's insisting, like, no, don't do the right thing. Play a guessing game, get frustrated, hopefully mess up your car more or something, right? Right? And, right? So it's like the market is steering people to be more like, don't fix it right easy the first time. And even if you pay your $150, you're still shit out of luck with a guessing game a lot of the time. The mechanic didn't. So who in their right mind, a person coming up in society with little monies, is gonna feel comfortable about going to the mechanic? The thing that they're supposed to do, right? What they're supposed to do, they don't feel comfortable doing it because there's total foul in the introduction, right? This is total foul. Whether or not there might be as easy a thing as one of your spark plugs went out, you want to change them all, right? You just skipped it. Because what? Because I'm fucking young nobody with no money. I went to the guy and he acted shady. Like, for 150 bucks, I'm still not caring. You better have a lot of money, right? I'm still not caring very much. Good luck with it, right? Which is fucked up, right? That is fucked up. That is some fucked up moral compass of businessmanship, right? Like that is a fucked up moral compass of businessmanship. So and then all these stores are saying, come test your car yourself at O'Reilly's or AutoZone or something to get your car tested. Test it yourself, right? But it's still a game. And then you always need another special tool. And before you know it, you have all the special tools that a regular mechanic has, and you only needed to fix one car. Right? You only needed to fix one car. Right? Well, everybody with bikes have tools. They fix their bikes. Yeah, okay, sure, it's not that big of a deal then, right? But across the board, I've never seen what I expected to see was some garages called the tool shed or something. You pull your car up, you schedule in a time, you get some garage time, right? Initially, you just schedule an hour, right? For what? Assessment. Car assessment. And that's going to be the most of the business for a business like this. Like if you had a business called a tool shed. Let's say it had two car garages and two sets of tools at the car garage, right? You paid your $150 assessment. Dude, it's $1 an hour for an expensive tattoo artist. Mediocre price, really. Starting price for a tattoo artist is $50 an hour, right? $50 an hour. And this is something that I look at across the board between dentist, tattoo artist, mechanic. $50 an hour, right, is a starting, right? Experienced tattoo artist or mechanic, $100 an hour, right? It could go up to like 100 something, you know? And that's like famous, right? Famous mechanic, famous tattoo artist, famous dentist, right? And so it's especially even a loud consideration to see a $150 assessment that takes less than a half hour. Which you know for a fact takes the mechanic less than a half hour to do it, right? So an $150 assessment, and I'm not open for debate about it. You'll get your paperwork and that's it. Don't ask any questions. That's definitely not a famous mechanic that's meeting all your wishes, right? $150, 30 minutes, don't ask questions, see you later. Like, no way. And I don't know how they pulled this with the market. I don't know. I don't know how they pulled it. I don't know who's paying it, but what I realized, it was just what I thought. The people who pay it are the kind of people who don't flinch at it at all. They don't give a fuck. Right? Even if the mechanic fumbles around and goes, oh, well, I thought it was this, and then it was that, and then it's going to be something or other. Oh, okay, see you later. Those are the guys that pay for it. They didn't care. Right? So, that's what I find, that some things are skewed to turn society to do a certain thing a certain way. And then society doesn't have a way to raise an eyebrow to it sometimes. Like this situation with the mechanic. Right? It's strange. I went to the exhaust place on Aurora that is called, that has the name Ballard in the name. And the guy was extremely unhelpful. I joked with him on the phone. When I talked to him on the phone, I totally joked around like, I'm totally not wasting your time, dude. But just got this car, and I know the OBD2 stuff is silly stuff to play around with. So if you want to help me with a couple questions or something. And he was totally friendly, but when I showed up the morning, he was a jerk. Didn't want to have any questions. And then they pulled some switch around, like it wasn't the guy who was on the phone that I talked to. And then I don't care what happened. It was completely unhelpful. It's like called Ballard Exhaust or something, exhaust shop or something, and it was, the guy was a total jerk. Didn't have much patience, acted like he was in a big hurry when there was nobody else around, no other customers around to talk to, and he was talking jumpy. Like, what I noticed is older crowd guys talk like they're on meth or something around a young guy like me, and act really stupid and jumpy intentionally when they want to be jerks, because they know what it's like. People get high on meth and coke and shit, and they act all weird, and they act like they're real jumpy and in a hurry all the time. So I don't know, the guys at the Aurora are all coked up or nothing or something. Either he was coked up or he acted that way. Just acting weird. So I don't know. But the other guy was friendly on the phone, drew me in, and then the other guy, when I got there on Monday, was totally coked out. Or just a jerk. I don't know. I think he was coked out or just a jerk. I don't know. So, being able to get an assessment is obviously worth like anywhere from 20 to $100. And I straightforwardly decided, first of all, it's definitely some kind of market niche they left open for young mechanics to do. But it's terrible. It's just terrible. Because there aren't any other options. There really aren't any other options. There are none. There's no options. And it just makes sense to me. A business called the Tool Shed, where they just have like some car garages. You schedule a time, and the technician will like help you and stuff. Some guy was advertising on Facebook that he was doing that, but he really wasn't very great with communication. First, he didn't want to tell me whether or not they were actually in Kent or not, and then it was kind of strange. He wanted me to schedule time before I even seen the place in person, and I think that's not a good idea. Uh, like if you had a shop that was going to do that kind of thing, you should never let people schedule over the phone. They need to be there in person to schedule, right? And there's a lot of reasons for it, especially because you're a small business. You can't mess around with people scheduling times, not showing up, and screwing around with your schedule, right? I don't want to tell people how to do their businesses, but if I was doing that business for sure, I would look at it like, no way. I'm not scheduling anything over Facebook with you to go to a mechanic shop. Alright? You need to have a mechanic shop. You need to say, okay, you need to show up here at the mechanic shop and then you can schedule time. Right? That's what you do. Right? So, I don't know if people are just trying to do everything the wrongest way they can get away with. And they want to complain that Ryan doesn't like how Ryan doesn't, or I don't know what the fuck their problems are, but I'm just a wide-eyed white boy with the skills to make the books, and the wild side was living at the whim of social imbalance. The ironic, the safe way to go was the armed forces was the safe way to go, you know? Right? Training to kill, that's the safe way to go, right? And that's the ongoing rudeness of our social intrigue, where being humble doesn't get you very far. Just like in my story, I was talking about the young girl I went to school with. She was very quiet, sentimental, right? She was very quiet. She went along with the program. Whatever everyone else wanted her to do, she was okay. She was very agreeable, right? She's very agreeable, right? What happened to her? Well, she hung around with some people, partied a little bit, got pregnant, was decidedly diagnosed as a drug addict. They took the baby and told her to move along. Goodbye. Right? That's how society works. That's how society works. That's how society works, right? A girl I went to school with, she was a good student and got good grades in school. And then her dad ditched out and said, well, you're an adult now, see you later, right? And then there she was floating around parties and stuff, pregnant, diagnosed as a drug addict. They took the kid, and then I seen her some couple of years later, only a couple of years later. It was only like 3 years, right? I was like, oh, hey, what are you doing? Oh, I got kicked out, or my situation went to crap with my dad. He left, disappeared. I was out on partying around. They said I'm a drug addict, and they took the baby, and I'm out still with just a nobody. Had a baby, and see you later. We don't like you. Is how that was her story. Well, get out of here. Thanks for the baby. Get lost. Right? It's just weird. How did that happen? That was a happenstance. Like, someone I went to school with. She was a quiet person. Very humble. She was rather humble. She was kind of a shorter breed. She would have been a great girlfriend for me. I just never talked to her. I never had her in. She wasn't in any of my classes. So my peers and I, and past experiences with courts of a fellow citizens, has promoted us to have a loss of interest in conversation socially, especially with authorities, and of a loss of interest, you know. And it's been just an ongoing unfair character. Those loss of interest, blocking the road of reality with a romantic sabotage, the constipated consciousness. The constipated consciousness in the courtroom, as the comparison is that they are farting in your face, blah, 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 blahing, with the courtroom, and then basically, the defendant's supposed to respond only in writ. That's why they say you have the right to remain silent, everything and say you do, blah, 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 blah. That's why that statement is such a big deal to the cops. And the law people want the cops to tell you that. Because the real story to understanding how to act as a defendant is to respond in writ only, and don't allow people to get you conversating with them in the middle of the courtroom, back and forth, or anything like that. And then having the lawyer or the attorney handle everything without you responding in writ is their way of kind of moo-shooing their little mojo magic of treating you as if you were a person who couldn't read and write, right? Is what it is. And even if you write something in writing and turn it into the judge will lie and claim that he's not allowed to accept that, which is bullshit. Right? Which is bullshit. Yeah, so, and then that is the art of heretical heresy in its right form, you know, the rhetorical, the heresy, the heretics, the hypocrites, and then the Hippocratic method of applying the sun and the tree sun. The sun and the tree and the sun. It's the treason. Right? The treason. We got lost in the side of her. What are your rights for self-defense? And ultimately, the court in a comparison about getting lost inside a vagina. And that's a good question. And she got a place and she gets a car, right? Or something like that. Or what's supposed to happen? So in this space age respect, what's going on in everything, in the hindsight, it's the store is this comparison of getting lost in a vagina, you know? And he's lost and he's stuck and he doesn't know what to do. The social intrigue is lost and stuck. It doesn't know what to do. Doesn't know what to do. Alright? It's like friendly fire, the paranoia that builds with the stuck. We don't know what to do. Right? And it really strikes me to bring back an old saying that is a store rules saying of worthy hindsight for our 2020 experience. And the store rules, in an ironic state of existence, was all about no shirt, no shoes, no service, right? No shoes, no shirt, no shirt, no shoes, no service. And so these comparisons become what it is. And the store actually put the sign up in the old school days as a reminder. And not only that, they told you that's how you're getting lost. That's what's happening. This is why you're lost. No shoes, no shirt, no service. This is what's happening. Because you don't know what the comparison is. Is that your shirt is a house. Your house is your shirt. And your car, or your method of getting around, if you only have a bike, that could be considered your shoes. But your car is your shoes. Right? And this comparison is really clear to understanding what's going on, because I made a kid's book called Sunny Shoe and the One Thing, where Sunny Shoe, and that's on Amazon, Christian Faith Publishing, and Sunny Shoe hides in the attic, which sounds like the word addict, right? And he hides in his t-shirt, and there's dust blowing all around in the end of the book, and he's hiding in his t-shirt, and they come find him, right? And it's a comparison all the way about society and how the real estate hoarders, are really the addicts, hoarding the real estate. And they're hiding in their t-shirt, the house that they have. And our society hasn't made rules about how many houses can you have and things like that. Things like that. All right? And what is the purpose? And losing sight of the fact that that if you don't have a place to rest, it will kill you. Right? If you don't have a place to rest, it will kill you. It will kill you. And if you don't let people get a place to rest, it has been historically proven, then they will start to kill you. They will kill you. Right? Right? So we know that. This insights, right? We know that. And so your rights of self-defense and all this, paranoid with a silent parentoidism, looking like this. And she does she want to see that, right? She has work to do, a couple reasons why, getting married and signing with the armed forces are both ongoing comparisons of simulations of many times having armed forces experience has been talked about as it was my ex-wife, right? I was married to armed forces, right? The or whatever, right? That's common because it takes 20 years to get retirement, and if you had 2 kids with a gal, the kids will be old enough to be adults at about 20 years. Right? Right? And it is a society that culturally people are very animated about reflecting socially. And and tons of reflection, sexual culture, ongoingly. And then I find myself thinking back about a lot of things. Uh, and I've had experiences that are questionable, you know. And then I see how a person who was lower half, the lower part of society, who was scrimping by, you know, and then the privileged people who were able to get into colleges and universities, right? And then these really privileged people in the college and universities turned out all these really dumb psychological things and making all this psychological antipsychotic pills and stuff. And then you'll really find some real aggression between the lower class people and those people who spend a lot of time partying, getting drunk through college, and then they're trying to serve you antipsychotics, right? Right? I mean, if you want to fucking have a good reason to get in a fight to make a good YouTube video, I would say that's what you're trying to do, right? You want to make a fancy YouTube video, get in a fight with a guy like me, you keep stepping that way. Well, let's fight. Let's go. Right? Let's fight then. I'm ready. You know? Handicap, whatever. Right? You want to fight me? You want to be an honest person? Act like an adult? Whatever. You want to bring your Christian perspective of we're having some children's jokes or something. Yeah? You look like an adult? Step forward like an adult. Right? You look like an adult. You don't look like no child to me. Right? You don't look like no child with a college degree and a license on it, badge and shit. You don't look like no fucking child to me, fool. So you can come with that. I'm a Christian and we're playing a child game or something. Right? But you're gonna get your ass knocked out talking some shit to some guys who come from the lower half of society. Right? Who don't like alcohol. Sure, there's lots of guys who come from the lower class of society that will drink with you and stuff, and I don't get along with them. Just because they're from the lower class doesn't mean I'm going to like them, right? They can say what they want. But you're going to be stepping on some wrong toes, and you're going to get your ass knocked the fuck out with your little physician's license and your antipsychotics. You're going to get your shit knocked the fuck out. And you keep stepping, you're going to get your shit knocked the fuck out. Right? Of course the stock market's and shit. That shit doesn't make sense. That's the shit that they do. The rich guys play along with it knowing it doesn't make sense. Waiting to stare at a guy like me from the lower half to come up into that situation, and they will try to fuck with the guy. Right? That's what it is. I've known that shit since I was a teenager. Stock market bullshit. When I saw 9/11 happen, I wasn't really surprised. I just thought, whatever's happening, that shit happened. Someone got pissed, or they're just knocking it down like the Tower of Babel. One of those two. I will never know. I'm a poor nobody, right? I'm a poor nobody, right? We're just poor people, making sense or not. We're dealing with what we got, right? And so I'm trying to get into using this HUD-VASH housing program, and some gal finally called me back after a month and a half later and saying that I might be able to get enrolled in it here around Seattle. And then I might do it, only because I am desperate. Like, yeah, I'm sleeping in the car and it hurts. I have a serious fucking injury from this infection in my spine. My neck gets swollen from crawling around the car. And it is what it is. Ain't nobody around to say, sorry that's happening to you, Ryan. Yeah. So, but I see a lot of problems. I see a lot of weirdness in society. And I see how society is extremely timid on its own reflection, honestly. So, this society is extremely timid and understanding its own reflection or something is what I've noticed. Just when I see such a gap in a market, and how many people have cars? Everybody has a car. And then there's such a gap, and it's like that. I know you're just timid people who don't actually get enough conversation going on that you really owe it to yourself, you know? Right? And then that's how I know. Oh, well, they're fine. Because that gap wouldn't be there, right? That gap wouldn't be there. The gap would not be there. They're fine. They left me in some really desperate situation, waiting to see what kind of fucking shit they can pull on a guy who's having pain problems and stuff or something. I don't know why. I feel like I'm some kind of experiment or some shit. I don't know what the fuck's going on, but if I see gaps like that in the market, I know that they're fine. Everything's fine with them. I've seen all kinds of great documentaries on different TV programs, and I've seen one especially that really meant something a lot to me. When I was young, I saw a TV program that played after school about people living in inner city areas that are really, 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 really beat up bullshit ghetto areas. And this one story was about this gal who was getting free rides to go to McDonald's because she worked at McDonald's or something, right? And then she wanted to go to school and become a social worker or something. But the most ironic shit about the whole situation was most of the people in the neighborhood she lived around, she really just needed to get away from. The only person in the whole fucking situation of her family and everything, she was the only one that needed a social worker. And she didn't need a social worker. She just needed to be a social worker as a job to get her ass away from them. That situation. So what did she need? Right? What did she need? She was the only person who wanted to go to school out of the neighborhood. Out of all the people she knew around the little neighborhood she lived. It was a ghetto-ass neighborhood. Right? She was the only one who needed a social worker. All the other people were okay with staying in their ghetto neighborhood, being poor. Right? Well, she was poor. She knew she was going to be poor or something. But she just wanted standards to change. Right? You can't change a neighborhood. Neighborhood changes you. Right? And when I was young and I saw that, I definitely was sure I knew. What is this really about? Some poor person's story? Or what is this perspective for? Right? To me, it was just, look, if you're the person and everyone's walking by you and you're like, I could fit in here, but I don't want to. Something's not right. I don't like it. You gotta just get up and leave. And when it comes down to how society is now, sleep in your car. Right? What are you gonna do? Right? What are you gonna do? These rich people, they're fine. There's a bunch of fucking people who are working class people. They're determined to be subordinately poor forever. You know? If you know you're one of them, I don't know. I'm making a video for those kind of people who know that, right? Know where your place is. Understand the store rules, right? No shirt, no shoes, no service. Your shirt is your house. Your shoes, that's your car or your bike. Your hat, that's what your college degree is, essentially. It's your diploma of any kind. Right? It's a diploma of any kind. Is your hat. And then what do you know about society? What do you call that? That's your cap. No, well, you're gonna capitalize, right? With your thinker, right? And then you better put some fucking price caps on the condos before you fuck up again, stupid fuck. And so after we consider all what I said here, I have like a final closing to say. And the close is about this concept called the water wick. And how it becomes ployish with a sense of adventurism and romanticized culture of in the space age. I see it as the normal nobody people find themselves characteristically in play with house and car. And the house is your shirt, and the car is your shoes, and the hat is whatever credentials you have. And the Sunny Shoe was hiding in the attic, and all you could see was his shirt and his shoes and his hat, but he was surrounded by dust. And they had to save him from the attic. It's just a silly kid's book, you know. It's crazy getting scared of dust, you know. Scared of dust, you know. Oh, you can't breathe, you know. He's like coughing and stuff. Only a kid. So, in this space age, I find it interestingly humorous that this characteristic of so a boy who's a nobody needs to just get a car and car camp, and then a girl who's a nobody just needs to get settled into a place, and then she just needs to. Then she just needs. She doesn't need a car, but it could be handy, right? So then the boys are floating around in cars, camping in their cars, and then the girls are eyeballing cars. And that's a hilarious thing to think about that I thought of several times. I thought, that's hilarious. The space age nobodies and that philanthropathic method of social romanticized system. So in the sense of this concept of the water wick that I created about the water wick essentially was just this concept that I came up with about the concept of water and how the pureness of water gave you a value to decide about what kind of water is what value. If it wasn't fresh, you definitely didn't like it, you didn't want to drink it, or if it wasn't filtered or something, or if they didn't do something with it, you know. And then that was the first simulations of understanding the comparisons of values of making fresh water was worth time and energy, and then making farmland was worth time and energy. And then so the water wick is a concept of where it throws you into understanding. It's a concept of the base of comparisons of value, and the base values are based on biblical terms of in the Bible terms about how people who kept land brought the power to the land, right? It was like making fire, making the land a farmland. You know, it was super efficient, and farming was it, right? And then land that hasn't been kept by anybody wasn't worth that much, you know? And then, so the water wick is that system of concept, of comparisons. And it was interesting. I came up with this when I was working on the Fitz-Rissler books concepts in Kansas. And I went to a movie theater, and it was kind of weird. I saw some weird preview at the movie theater about a movie called The Water Wick all of a sudden, and it was really not a very long one, and then at the end it just said The Water Wick, and then it was like weird, and I have never found a movie called The Waterwick anywhere. And then, but I looked up the word of the Waterwick, and I could only find one association. In the United Kingdom, there is a place in the United Kingdom called Waterwick Hill. Waterwick Hill. So, the Waterwick is something that I talk about in a prior video more extensively. I'm not trying to get in all that right now, but I just wanted to say that just to reiterate on a cap of this video. I think I touched on some combination of subjects, and I felt like the momentum built to this final silly thing about the car and the house, and how she finds a place, and then dudes are supposed to not try to find a place and try to camp in their vehicles if they're nobodies, and then that's how it's supposed to happen. And that's funny. So